Welcome back, guys, to Voicey here in another r/Tales from Retail. I'm your host, Captain Zach, for the weekend show. The government is like a Karen. Whiny, blames you for their problems, takes your stuff without asking, and that's a lesson one of our heroes had to learn the hard way. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, this story was called, I once had to give a customer some really bad news. Then, the FBI showed up. So yeah, years back I was working as a wholesale manager for a large national auto parts chain. Large retail store with a full service repair facility. When the service managers needed to leave, the technicians would come to me instead. This was one of those days that ended like no other. I remember it was a hot day, well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, a little after 2 p.m. I'm sitting at my desk looking for some part when one of the technicians comes up to me. His name is Kenny. Now, Kenny is a real nice guy. He's in his early 50s, Vietnamese, and has a great sense of humor. His English isn't great. He understands everything, but never quite got the hang of putting it to words. But he does fine if given a minute. The man always has a smile on his face, and he's an outstanding mechanic. I'd let him work on my car, and that's a real short list. Anyway, Mr. Silicon, you need to come with me right now. He's stone-faced, and he always calls me by my first name. I'm more than a little scared by how he looks. I'm thinking a vehicle has fallen off a lift or someone is seriously injured. He leads the way to the service bay. He works in the bay all the way at the end, and that's where he takes me. On his lift, he has a 2000 whatever white Ford Expedition. He guides me to the front passenger wheel well. The wheel and tire have been removed and are on the floor. Then he points up to the fender. I stick my head up into the wheel well and look up towards the fender. And there it is, a large plastic and taped wrapped package clearly containing a white brick. It's very large, like 8 inches by 10 inches by 3 inches. It's heavily taped to the inside of the fender. I look at Kenny, and he looks at me. Cocaine. Sure as heck looks like it to me too. What is the truck here for? It's a lot of work, practically all the front bushings, ball joints, and outer tie rods. Vehicle is listed at around 78,000 miles. Do you know who this belongs to? No. Alright, just head back to the office. Don't touch it. I head to the service desk and pull out the repair order. It's got a local phone number and an address on it. I ask the service advisor who the customer is. He points to the waiting room next door. I peek inside. Inside is an early 30s guy and his 2 kids, maybe 7 and 5? Looks nice enough, but you never know. At this point, I called the local police. I told them what we found, gave them the vehicle information and the customer's name. They said stall him for as long as I can and they will be there as fast as possible. I head inside the waiting room, introduce myself to the man, and tell him it looks like he might need a few more parts. I say the sway bar brushings and the links could use replacing. He looks at me for a second, then smiles. Yeah, it's okay. If it needs it, just get it done. I've got time. His kids are real nice too. They both introduced themselves to me very polite. So how long have you had it? Only a few weeks. I just purchased it from an auction down south. Really? What kind of auction? Government seizures. DEA, I think. I got an amazing deal. The thing is beat, but I can afford to replace the parts to the price, and the body and inside is great. Man, I've got some really bad news for you. Then I start to explain. Right about this time, the local police arrive. They also have the local FBI with them. They examine the vehicle and have Kenny put the wheel back on. Vehicle goes onto a flatbed and away it goes. 2 of the FBI came with me to the waiting room where this poor guy is now freaking out. Turns out it was indeed a DEA seized vehicle, and they had missed the huge bag of cocaine in it. They had to seize the vehicle from him, couldn't just take the drugs out and give it back, like gonzo, and no repayment. Unknown if he would ever get it back. Poor guy was devastated. Last I saw him, the FBI was giving him and his kids a ride home in their SUV. Okay, Voicey veterans, I think we can all agree that the DEA has done goofed, okay? This guy, this poor guy, bought this SUV and he was so excited about it. But because of the DEA's mistake, there was a brick of cocaine left in it and they go ahead and take the car back? Oh, come on, that wasn't the dude's fault. And he's the one being punished for it, pretty much. I want y'all to let me know in the comments below if you ever found cocaine in your car. And don't worry, it doesn't have to have belonged to you, if you know what I mean. This story was called, How Do You Know If Something Is or Is Not a Book? The other day, I had to really hold back my laughter when I overheard my coworker dealing with a nuisance customer. Last week, there was a coupon in some newspapers that gave customers £5 off their transaction if they were spending £20 or over on books. stationery, or greeting cards. The print on the coupon very clearly stated what it could not be used on. So, in the afternoon, I noticed a papercraft magazine left behind the till, and my coworker tells me someone has rang up asking for it. About an hour later, this person came in to buy it. I was putting stock out near the till, and this is what I heard. "Excuse me, I called earlier about a magazine? A craft magazine?" "Oh yes. Is this the one you asked for?" "Is this the newest issue? It looks like the last issue." "Let me just check on my scanner. Yeah, this issue came out 2 weeks ago, but the next one isn't out until next week according to this." "Oh, right. Well, get it in case I haven't gotten it already. I have a coupon." As she produced the coupon, my coworker immediately noticed it was the 5 pounds off 20 pound one, and told the customer it won't work on such a small transaction. "Oh, that coupon will only work if you're spending 20 pounds or more. This magazine is only $9.99. "It says 5 pounds off. "Yeah, 5 pounds off any transaction over 20 pounds of books, stationery, or greeting cards. If you have a look around, maybe there's something else you might like that will bring it up." "What about a few of those books? 2 or 3 of them is probably around 10 pounds, right?" "These are all new books. This is a paperback chart. They range from $7.99 to $9.99. "What? $7.99 for a book? That's a bit much, especially for paperbacks." I stood there thinking, hold on, your magazine is more than that for less content. She decided to have a quick look around the shop for something else, but didn't get very far before my coworker suddenly realized magazines are excluded from the coupon. Whoops, better quickly tell the customer. "Excuse me, sorry, I've just double-checked the coupon fine print. Magazines aren't actually included in the offer. It's only books, stationery, and greeting cards." "Well, this is a book." "It's a magazine." "Magazines are books though." "I know what you mean, but they are classified as different types of products." "Well, that doesn't mean it's not a book." "But it's a magazine. It's not classed as a book." "Well, if it's not a book, what would you call it?" "A magazine?" "Oh, whatever. I just want this stupid thing. Forget about the coupon." So she bought her she bought her book and left. Hopefully, she'll be back next week to buy some fountain pens with our 3-for-2 deal on pencils. Alright, you kooky Karens, let's think about this logically for a second. You wouldn't argue with a medical doctor about medicine, would you? But you get my point. Don't argue with a retail worker about store policy. Alright, this story was called, now that's what I call blatant shoplifting. Just a short one today that happened about a few hours ago, but still makes me go, are you kidding me? I work at a discount retail store that unfortunately has to deal with a lot of shoplifting. It's a mostly found out after the fact type of thing. People stuffing things in purses or pockets. We have security devices on a lot of things, but thieves will still figure out how to get them off one way or another, and we end up finding broken hard tags in pockets of other clothing and such. Which is a pain because it sets off the door alarm and we have to check the purchases of confused innocent customers. We've even found bloodstains on clothing from people hurting themselves trying to get the tags off. What the heck? But blatant, out in the open shoplifting is rare and weird when it happens, and it happened today on my shift. I was cashiering and starting a large purchase for a lady when a man comes in from the returns only line. I don't think much of it because people never seem to pay attention to the sign that says where the line starts, and there was no one else aside from him and the lady there anyway. He sets down one of those great big laundry baskets full of clothing, along with a set of sheets and a comforter set, and just leans against the end of my counter. He sat it down really close to the lady's stuff, so I asked if they were together. The guy just replied, jokingly, "No, I don't think she wants anything to do with this." I very distinctly hear an accent. Yeah, I thought he sounded like Gambit from X-Men is exactly where my brain went. Anyway, the lady's order is taking a bit and a few more people are now in line, but not backed up very much. Though I do have to ask people to not line up in the return line and direct them to the regular line. Par for the course for my job. Just as I have finished this first lady's order, the door alarm goes off and I look up, expecting to see some customer who has walked too close to the sensors again, only to see the guy with the cute accent bolting out the door with his basket full of clothes, some of which have screaming alarm tags on them that are now going off. "Sir?" I call after him, followed by a much louder, "Sir!" The second one, I must have been channeling my mother's teacher voice because literally everyone in the store could hear me. But by that time, the guy had jumped into a car parked right in front of the store and sped off. I composed myself, picked up my walkie, and informed the manager what happened before going back to checking people out. Of course, the other customers were as shocked as I was, and many of them kindly stuck around to give additional details to the manager when she came up to get my account. It turns out the guy had at least one accomplice, his girlfriend or wife or whatever. It was actually her grabbing perfume, which are kept in individual locked keepers, off the front display and running out the door that set off the alarm in the first place. Those keepers are going to be a pain to open without the special key. In fact, I hope all their pilfered goods get ruined trying to get the security tags off. Idiots. Oh, and because they had the getaway car right in front of the building, the security cameras probably got a good view of the license plate. Aside from that, there's not much more the store can do. It was just so wild. Why did he even bother standing in line? Did they really plan this whole thing out? Or did the GF just decide to yoink some goods and he then had to grab his stuff and run? I don't know. All I know is that it hurt my throat to yell at an idiot that loudly. Oh boy. And here I was thinking the boot gang trend died down. Come on, Gambit, you're better than that. Alright, Voicey veterans, this story was called, "Oh honey, stop making me look bad." I work at a store where everything costs $1. I don't have many issues with mean or rude customers either. Most of the issues I've had have been with other coworkers. Anyways, this happened a few months ago, and the store was pretty dead. I was working with this older woman, we'll call her Old Woman, who was at the register behind me. It being slow, I didn't feel like standing at the register doing nothing. So I was going around, picking stuff up, putting it away, and just generally cleaning up the front area. Old Woman stood at a register and watched me do all this while I occasionally came back to ring out customers who came up front. Until a woman walked up that Old Woman seemed to know. I didn't think anything of it and got back on register to ring out 2 people who'd come to my line. Old Woman was continuing to talk to her friend, and I spotted the second woman in line, we'll call Lady. Lady stood by, waiting politely for Old Woman to finish her conversation. I'm still at my register, expecting Old Woman to ring her friend out and then start helping Lady. Guess what doesn't happen? Old Woman just leaves her friend's stuff on the belt, looks at Lady, glances at her stuff placed on the belt, and then turns to keep talking to her friend. This has gone on for about 5 minutes now, and I can see Lady is getting visibly frustrated. I step up and very quietly say to Lady while grabbing her stuff, "Ma'am, why don't I ring you out on my register? I'm so sorry." Lady says, with a look of annoyance and utter relief, "Thank you." I start ringing her out, and Lady and I end up having our own whispered conversation. Who is that woman she's talking to? I don't know. I've never seen her before. I guess they haven't seen each other in a while. She could have just rang me out. Yeah, and you don't have a lot either. I'm sorry, I should have gotten you sooner. It's not your fault. I thought you were closed. And she smiled at me, and I smiled back. I wished her a good day, and Lady walks out. Old Woman keeps talking to her friend for another 10 minutes, rings her out, and tells her to have a good day. She finally turns her attention to me and comes around the register with a sweetly sick smile on her face. "Honey, you didn't need to do that." "Do what?" "Ring that lady up." "I was gonna get to her." I decided to take a diplomatic approach. I didn't want to interrupt your conversation, so I just rang her up. "Honey, I haven't seen her in ages. I was going to ring her up." "Well, you were taking too long." "Well, honey, I'm older. I'm not as fast as you younger people." Because I'm one smart donkey, I say, "So?" Seeing she can't cow me, she goes back to her register and just silently glares at me. Rest of the shift was okay for the most part, though at one point, instead of going to the manager about how she was feeling tired for standing up for so long, to ask for a chair, Old Woman got customers to do it for her. Our manager was literally in the aisle right in front of us, and all Old Woman had to do was raise her voice a bit to get our manager's attention. Old Woman also got customers to yell at our manager, who was super confused about making a woman who was in pain keep working. Manager then told Old Woman if she was in pain, she could have just said something and she'd either let her head home for the day or just let her sit down for a bit. After Old Woman left, early might I add, manager asked me about the incident with Old Woman's friend and the lady. I told her what happened. Never saw Old Woman show up for another shift again. Goes to show, Voicey veterans, at some point, you just stop caring.
Post your stories, memes, and fan art at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.